If you love books that ask, what if the greatest threat to your happiness wasn't some evil sorcerer or magical curse, but the quiet, persistent voice inside your head telling you that you'll never be good enough? Or what if the person you needed to rescue wasn't trapped in a tower or frozen in ice, but staring back at you in a mirror, whispering that you need to be perfect to be loved? If that sounds interesting to you, then today's book just might be for you. Today, I will be reviewing To Capture a Beauty by Kimberly Pearl. Welcome to Spencer Reads Everything. I'm your host, Spencer Duncan, and today I'm looking at a compact, well-written novella that reimagines the Snow Queen in a grounded, emotionally resonant way. To Capture a Beauty centers on Lydia, a young woman who has spent her life in her own head and in the shadow of her older sister, Rosalie. So, full disclosure right up front, I know the author, Kimberly Pearl, is a friend of mine, and that's the main reason I picked up this book. Whenever I have a friend that's written a book, I try to pick up the book, at the very least buy it, and also try to read it. And I have actually really enjoyed Kimberly Pearl's books, even though they are not for me. I'm not her intended audience, which is totally understandable. But I also have to say, even though I'm not the intended audience, that this book is clearly written for readers who love romantic fantasy and fairy tale retellings. Not to stereotype, but I would say that it's intended for a younger and obviously a more female audience. But I still found a lot to really appreciate in this book, because here's the thing, good storytelling is good storytelling, and I do think that this is good storytelling. So here is the summary to Capture a Beauty. Lydia has always struggled with her older sister Rosalie's beauty. While Rosalie shines in the eyes of her family and their community, she's charming, graceful, and clearly destined for a bright future, Lydia moves quietly through life, and she's seen more for her usefulness, and her mother is especially invested in Rosalie's future, often speaking of the prestigious men that Rosalie is, going to date or whatever. I'm not entirely sure the time frame this is supposed to be in. Obviously, it's going to be a pre-modern time period, although there is certainly an indication of at least some types of education. She talks about there being a wide distribution of books, or at least Lydia likes to read, and so there's some indication that, well, it's fantasy, so it's a made-up time period. But anyways, Lydia, by contrast to her older sister, is the daughter who helps her father with his herbalism, and she just tends to blend into the background. What many don't see is that Lydia has a vibrant inner world. She expresses herself through sketching and using her art to make sense of the beauty she observes in plants, as well as in people and in moments that others might overlook. And so it's not just a hobby, but it's actually a way for her to hold on to a sense of self-worth in a world that she thinks is determined to more or less ignore her, or at the very least is somewhat indifferent to her. Then comes along an individual named Ruin, who is a young man on his way to Moonrose, which is the name of Lydia's family farm, and he stops to speak with Lydia, and Lydia is surprised by how easy it is to talk to him. They connect not just through small talk, but through some shared knowledge and actual genuine curiosity, especially around plants and the natural world. And when Ruin is revealed to be her father's new apprentice, Lydia is quietly thrilled, and his presence means more time together, and perhaps, who knows, you'll find out if you read the book. But at the same time, there are shadows that are falling over the countryside. Young women have started to disappear, and fear grows with each passing day. One of those young women is actually going to be Honora, who is Lydia's quiet and observant sister, and the one that she actually feels closest to. Honora's disappearance is going to be terrifying, and it leads to several major revelations about Ruin's abilities and a confirmation that something dark and magical is wrong with the land. Ruin, already connected to the world deeper than Lydia realizes, becomes more than an apprentice. He actually becomes a bit of a guardian, and though he doesn't speak much of his past, it becomes clear that Ruin is here not just to help with the herbs, but to confront a lurking danger. He shares with Lydia strange truths about how the vegetation around them responds to magic, and how imbalance in the natural world often signals something greater. His protectiveness grows out of care, though there is also an element of obligation as well, although I'll let you read to find out what I mean by that. And Lydia begins to trust him, not just with her safety, but we'll say with her heart. Their bond deepens as they work together, but when they stumble across an enchanted mirror, their journey takes a darker turn. Lydia catches a glimpse of her reflection in the glass, only it's not quite her. The mirror shows her something else, a version of herself that's perfected, it's flawless, and admired and eternally beautiful, and it whispers promises that speak directly to her long-held feelings of inadequacy, and it offers what she has always believed would earn her love and a little more visibility. But what she doesn't know is that the mirror is actually a trap. Lydia's test is not just against external magic, but against the voice inside her that has always told her that she's not enough. And the mirror offers escape through illusion, but Lydia must choose to believe in her worth without enchantment. And so the whole book boils down to this question: can she resist the temptation? Can she trust that who she is without perfection is enough? And actually, after a devastating feeling of betrayal, Lydia finds herself seeking some way to help her overcome her feelings of insecurities and angers, and it is going to lead her to make some pretty dramatic decisions. And so through heartbreak and danger and growth, we'll see as Lydia learns what it means to love and to be loved in return, not for what she appears to be, but for who she truly is. So just a few themes and highlights that you're going to notice in this book. First of all, it is a big story about personal growth. This is a heroine's journey that centers not on saving the world per se, but on saving herself from doubt, from fear, and from the idea that she must be something other than who she is. There's also a question of sisterhood and identity that is being addressed. Lydia's relationship with her sisters, especially her jealousy of Rosalie and her protection of Honora, offers some emotional depth, and Honora's disappearance and Rosalie's glow both shape Lydia's understanding of herself and her role in her family and in her larger community. Also, there's a big element of art as expression in this book. Lydia's love of sketching isn't just a side detail, it's part of her soul. It symbolizes her ability to see beauty even when others do not. And of course, there is an element of romance, but I would say that it is an element of romance built on respect. Ruin doesn't rescue Lydia necessarily, at least not in a truly classical sense in any way, but instead you do find that he is going to be her champion. He stands beside her and he does listen to her and he values what she thinks. And so you're actually going to see their relationship grow through some shared labor as well as some mutual curiosity and that really important, mostly quiet, but at times actually quite vocal support of each other. This book is not part of Kimberly Pearl's swashbuckling adventure stories, which I've also enjoyed, and I have done a video on one of them. I have yet to do the video on the second one. This one actually leans much more into fantasy and also this bigger question of introspection, and I think that there's more of a moral in this one and not as much of these swashbuckling adventures that you've seen in her other two books. So that raises the question, who is this for? It's a clean read and it's appropriate for readers, I'd say probably 12 and up, although maybe a little younger could enjoy it as well. And it's not very long, so if you're in the mood for a story that's, we'll say, I don't know about cozy, but definitely it has a strong focus on home and the home life, but there is also the element of romance, and it is very much about being emotionally grounded. Then I think this would actually be a great pick for someone, especially if you're a slightly younger girl. I think that you could enjoy this a great deal. Who is this not for? Well, most other people, but that's fine. I think that it's not generally intended for adults, but you could certainly still enjoy it. I think it is well enough written to enjoy those elements. I would also say it's probably not going to be picked up by most guys, but that's okay. I think that it's still a very thoughtful and a very uplifting book by the end of it would be my key takeaways. And so I would personally recommend it to anyone that is interested in that type of book. I think that this has a lot going for it. If you want a little more action, I would recommend her other book series, which I will put a link here in the description. I'm blanking on the actual name of the series. The first book is like Emerald of the Sea, and the second one is I'm actually in the middle of it, but anyways, I will link both of those. They are great books that I would actually recommend to anyone that is interested in a swashbuckling story. Those ones, although also have a strong female protagonist, I think they actually have a slightly broader audience, or at least I think I connected with it a little more. But all in all, I would certainly recommend this book to anyone that is looking for this really imaginative retelling of a well-known fairy tale that really brings the moral of the story to, I think, a more modern audience, even though it's very much still going to be set in a different time and place. I certainly think there is a relatability to it and a readability to it that I think is really important. But please let me know what you guys think about this book, or if you've read her other books, please drop a comment, or if you just want to have any other conversation about books of this nature, I would love to hear your guys' thoughts. And if you're enjoying this video or any of my videos, feel free to share them. That's how we get the word out. And don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. And until next time, keep those pages turning.